Jake had no idea the old man he was mocking had 47 confirmed kills in Vietnam. Hey, Hidden Strength family. Tell us where you're watching from, and if this story amazes you, smash that subscribe button. Sometimes the person you're dismissing as just an old man might be one of America's deadliest warriors. What's this old guy doing here? Laughed 26-year-old Jake Mitchell, looking at Walter Greene, who was participating in the dart tournament at Murphy's Pub on Chicago's South Side. Someone grandpa's age came to play darts? Walter Greene, 68 years old, stood quietly in front of the dartboard. With his gray hair, lined face, and old plaid shirt, he looked like a typical retiree. As he examined the darts in his hand, Jake and his friends mocked him because of his trembling hands. Jake's friends Connor and Dylan were also laughing loudly. They were members of Chicago's biggest dart club and considered themselves experts in this field. "This guy has definitely never played darts," Connor said. "Look at his hands, they're shaking. He can't even hit the board." Walter heard their words but didn't react. He just continued checking his darts. No one knew that these trembling hands were the same hands that could once make perfect shots from 800 meters away. In Walter's small house on Chicago's northwest side, no visible sign gave any clue about his former life. Simple furniture, a television, a few books, a typical retiree's home. But at the very bottom of the bedroom closet, carefully hidden, was an old bag. Inside were traces of another world: U.S. Army sniper badge, Bronze Star medal, certificates from Vietnam, and most importantly, a classified file reading, confirmed kills, 47. Staff Sergeant Walter Eugene Greene wasn't just a retired man. During the Vietnam War, he had served as a sniper in the Cavalry Division for 15 months, conducted solo operations behind enemy lines. He was an elite soldier. Why was he now playing darts in Chicago? The answer lay in feelings of loneliness and purposelessness that Walter had never shared with anyone. After returning from Vietnam, Walter worked in a factory for 40 years. He lived a quiet, modest life. He never talked about his military past. He had PTSD symptoms, but no one understood these issues back then. When his wife Margaret died in 2018, Walter was left completely alone. They had no children, few friends. Days began to pass empty. 6 months ago, when he saw the dartboard at the neighborhood bar, he experienced nostalgic feelings. In Vietnam, he used to play darts with friends in his spare time. Maybe this could be a way to remember old times and socialize with people. The dart tournament at Murphy's Pub was held every Friday night. When Walter first participated, he knew no one. Young players ignored him, didn't take him seriously because of his age. "These old guys really don't understand modern dart techniques," Jake would say. "They're not at our level." When Walter heard these comments, he would just smile and focus on his game. They didn't know that Walter had made millimeter-precise shots 50 years ago to save people's lives. Murphy's Pub owner Tom Murphy saw Walter as a harmless elderly customer. "Walter's a good guy, but not very successful at darts," he would say. Bar regular Sarah Martinez felt sorry for Walter. "Poor man is lonely. At least he spends time with people here." Jake Mitchell was the star of the Chicago Dart League. For 5 years, he had been ranking high in tournaments and considered himself an expert in this field. He was especially impatient with elderly players. "These types of old guys slow down tournaments," Jake would say. "There's no room left for real players." Connor and Dylan were Jake's teammates. The three of them trained together at Chicago's biggest dart club. That Friday evening, there was a big monthly tournament at Murphy's Pub. The winner would get a $500 prize and the right to participate in the Chicago dart circuit. When Walter registered for the tournament, the young men were surprised. "Really?" Dylan laughed. "This guy is going to participate in the big tournament?" Jake looked with a serious expression. "Serious people should participate in this money and championship. This old man is just passing time." Walter heard their words but didn't answer. He filled out the registration form and paid the $25 entry fee. The tournament was in 501 format. Each player started with 501 points, trying to reach 0, the most difficult format, because the last throw had to be finished with a double. When the first round matchups were drawn, Walter was matched against Rick Santos, a young and aggressive player. "Old man, are you ready to lose?" Rick mocked. Walter smiled. "I'll do my best." When the game started, Walter hit triple 20 on his first throw. 60 points at once. Rick was surprised. Lucky shot. Walter hit double 19 on his second throw, a total of 98 points. On his third dart, he added 51 more points with triple 17. He had scored 149 points in the first turn. Whispers began among the spectators. This level of shooting was difficult even for professional players. Rick thought Walter's performance was a coincidence and tried to focus on his own game. But Walter continued to consistently make high scores. In the second turn, Walter hit 3 triple 20s in a row, 180 points the maximum possible score in darts. Everyone in the bar stopped. A 180-point shot was an achievement that only very experienced players could make. Jake, Connor, and Dylan watched Walter in bewilderment. "How is this possible?" Connor whispered. Walter easily beat Rick. He advanced to the second round. In the second round, he faced a more experienced player, but Walter passed him easily too. His shots were not only accurate, but also mathematically perfect calculations. By the time he reached the semifinals, Walter had become the tournament's biggest surprise. Spectators were wondering how he could play so well. In the semifinals, he faced Jake Mitchell. Jake looked at Walter with a serious expression. "Your luck ends here. I'm a professional at this." Walter calmly replied, "Everyone does their best." When the game started, Jake played aggressively. He tried to make high scores, but Walter approached more strategically. Each of Walter's throws was calculated. He wasn't just making high scores, he was managing the game in a way that would put Jake in difficult situations. At the critical moment, Jake was left with 32 points. He needed to hit double 16 to finish. Walter had 40 points. Double 20 would be enough. Jake made his throw, but the dart hit the edge of the board. Missed. Walter took his dart. In his mind, memories from Vietnam 50 years ago came alive. He had one shot to eliminate the enemy sniper. His life was in danger. He held his breath, determined his target, and threw. The dart landed right in the center of double 20. The bar exploded. Walter had made it to the tournament final. Jake couldn't believe it. How did this happen? Walter and Mike Rodriguez, an experienced player, remained for the final. Mike was one of Chicago's best dart players. During the break before the final, Jake approached Walter. "Sir, are you a professional dart player?" Walter smiled. "No, it's just my hobby." "This level of shooting isn't a hobby. Where did you learn this?" Walter hesitated. "A very long time ago. I trained for different targets." "What kind of training?" A deep expression appeared in Walter's eyes. "Life and death training." Jake didn't understand, but the seriousness in Walter's tone affected him. When the final started, Mike Rodriguez played aggressively. He tried to put Walter under pressure with his experience and technique. But Walter played with the composure that years had given him. Before each throw, he did breathing exercises, analyzed his target, and threw with perfect timing. Mike and Walter were very close in terms of points. Both had dropped below 60 points. Mike was left with 24 points. He needed to hit double 12. Walter had 32 points. He needed to throw double 16. Mike made his throw and hit double 12. He had finished. Walter's turn came. 32 points remained. He needed to hit double 16. Everyone in the bar watched in silence. This old man's last shot. Walter took his dart in his hand. He closed his eyes and remembered that critical moment in Vietnam. Viet Cong sniper at 800 meters. One shot chance. His friends' lives in danger. He opened his eyes, determined his target. First dart. Single 16. 16 points left. Second dart. Single 8. 8 points left. Last dart. He needed to hit double 4. Walter took his last dart. Like that critical moment 50 years ago, everything depended on this last shot. He threw. The dart landed right in the center of double 4. Walter had won the tournament. The bar gave him a standing ovation. Mike Rodriguez congratulated Walter. "Incredible performance. This level of shooting is very rarely seen." Jake, Connor, and Dylan looked at Walter in shock. Tom Murphy, while giving Walter his 500 prize, said, "Walter, where did you come from?" Walter remained modest. "I was just lucky." But Sarah Martinez was curious. "Walter, you said you're just a hobbyist. Being this good requires serious training." Walter hesitated. Maybe it was time to tell the truth. "I'm a former soldier. I served in Vietnam." Which unit? Jake asked. Honest Cavalry Division. Sniper. Deep silence fell in the bar. Mike Rodriguez was surprised. Sniper? Marksman? 15 months in Vietnam. Long-range shots. Jake's mouth fell open. Then darts are child's play for you. Walter smiled. The target got smaller, the distance decreased, but the concentration is the same. Tom Murphy welcomed Walter heroically. Walter, are you a real hero? I just did my duty. I tried to protect my friends. Sarah Martinez approached. Walter, we completely misjudged you. Everyone judged me by my appearance. It's a normal thing. Jake approached Walter with shame. Sir, I was very disrespectful to you. I apologize. Walter touched Jake's shoulder. Young man, you weren't malicious. You just had competitive spirit. But I looked down on you because of your age. Age is just a number. What matters is experience and respect. Connor and Dylan also approached. Mr. Walter, can we learn from you? Walter was surprised. What do you want to learn? Your concentration techniques. How do you stay so calm? Walter thought. I learned in Vietnam that panic is the enemy's biggest weapon. Staying calm is the key to survival. After the tournament, Walter became a regular customer at Murphy's Pub. He was now seen not just as a player, but also as a mentor. Jake, Connor, and Dylan began learning dart techniques from Walter. But what they really learned was respect and humility. Darts isn't just physical, it's a mental game. Walter would say, your enemy isn't the dartboard, it's your own fears. The young men loved listening to Walter's Vietnam stories. But Walter told life lessons more than war stories. I learned in war that every shot matters. But in darts, you can make mistakes. There's a second chance. Don't forget that. A month later, Walter, who had earned the right to participate in the Chicago dart circuit, began playing in bigger tournaments. Local media announced his story. 68-year-old Vietnam veteran wins dart tournament. Walter remained modest in interviews. I just play as a hobby. I feel young among the young people. Does your military background give you an advantage? It teaches concentration and patience. But what matters in darts is practice and respect. Jake, Connor, and Dylan became Walter's mentees. Chicago's young dart players knew him as Dart Master. Walter doesn't just teach us darts, Jake would say. He teaches us life. Walter's house was no longer lonely. On weekends, young people would come, practice darts, and listen to stories from Walter. What was your hardest moment in Vietnam? Connor asked one day. Walter looked thoughtful. My hardest moment was when the war ended and I returned home. No one understood me. Thanks to darts, I was able to connect with people again. Dylan was curious. What hobbies did you have before playing darts? Nothing. I would watch television. I was very lonely. The young men understood the loneliness Walter had experienced. Now, he wasn't just a dart master for them, but like a family elder. Murphy's Pub hung Walter's photo on the wall. House champion, Walter Greene, Vietnam veteran. Tom Murphy gave Walter a special dart set. These darts are yours, Walter. You're the legend of this bar. Sarah Martinez arranged a special corner for Walter, called Walter's Corner. Here, young players could take lessons from Walter. 6 months later, Walter participated in the Illinois Dart Championship, state-level tournament. Jake, Connor, and Dylan came to support him. Walter, you're our champion, they said. In the tournament, Walter competed with the state's best players. Other players didn't take him seriously because of his age. But Walter made it to the quarterfinals with his consistent performance. Being successful among young players at 68 was something no one expected. In the quarterfinals, he lost to a very experienced player, but his performance earned respect. Where did this guy come from? His opponent asked. This level of concentration is very rare. Walter had become Illinois' oldest quarterfinalist. After the tournament, the Chicago Tribune interviewed Walter, from Vietnam sniper to dart champion, Walter Greene's incredible journey. Darts became my second mission, Walter said in the interview. The first was protecting my homeland in Vietnam. Now, I'm giving life lessons to young people. A year later, the Walter Greene Memorial Tournament was started at Murphy's Pub, a tournament named after him while he was still alive. Walter isn't just a dart player, Tom Murphy said at the ceremony. He's a teacher, a mentor, a hero. Walter spoke at the ceremony. I'm just an old man, but thanks to darts, I learned that age is just a number. What matters is the age of your heart. Jake, now 27, was Walter's closest student. Walter taught me not to judge people by their appearance. He's my life model. Connor and Dylan had also improved a lot in darts. But most importantly, they learned respect and humility from Walter. 2 years later, Walter turned 70. He was still playing darts regularly, still mentoring young people. Next to his wife Margaret's photo, there were now dart awards, photos of his young students, and thank you letters. "Margaret, I wish you could see this," he would say, looking at the photo. "I'm not alone anymore. I have a family." The box in Walter's bedroom was no longer secret. Vietnam medals and sniper certificates were displayed openly. But beside them were new things. Dart championship trophy, gifts from young people, best mentor plaque. "The past brought me to where I am today," he would say. "But the future is in these young people's hands." Walter Greene had become the legend of Murphy's Pub. But more importantly, he had proven that elderly people are also valuable in life, that everyone has hidden talents. Every Friday evening, when Walter stood in front of the dartboard, he wasn't just throwing, he was giving people hope. Because sometimes the most ordinary-looking people can actually have the most extraordinary stories. Have you ever dismissed someone because of their age, only to discover their incredible past? Walter's story reminds us that heroes come in all ages, and sometimes the person sitting quietly in the corner might have the most fascinating experiences. If this story inspired you to look beyond appearances, share it with someone who needs this reminder. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from today.